Okay, started. So yeah, it would be nice to have videos as well. But hi guys, welcome to the University Readiness College Application Session. Today with me, three panelists who are going to introduce themselves. And basically, we're going to be talking about getting ready for university, the fundamental questions that high school students ask themselves in terms of like preparing for university. Try to answer as much as we can in this video. So we'll start with you, Nelly. Just introduce yourself. Then we'll go to Ngoni, then we'll go to Nandi.
Okay, so hi, my name is Nelisa, and I'm currently doing a PhD in physiology, where I'm looking at mechanisms around the body's adaptation before the onset of diabetes. I did my undergrad in Germany and my master's there, and I also went through the whole process of applying for universities both in Europe as well as the States, applying from Africa as well as through like a school that kind of did like IB or A levels and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Fantastic. Thanks, Nelly. Over to you, Ngoni.
My name is Ngoni Mugwisi. I am from Zimbabwe and I'm studying for my PhD in electrical engineering at Oxford. I research power electronics, focusing on their applications in the efficient transmission of renewable electricity for bottom-up grids in the developing world. I did my undergraduate studies in the United States at Arizona State University, and I have had a fair experience applying for higher study in the US and also in the UK at different levels of my life, and I'd be happy to share some insights.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Over to you, Nan.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Nur Tidani. I'm Sudanese. I'm doing my PhD in population health now. I look into ways in which we can improve service delivery. I'm a physician by background, and I look into the interactions between doctors and patients and how we can best optimize it so that we can improve the quality of care. I did my undergraduate in Sudan, and I've had some experience applying to studies in the US. I've done a couple of summer programs there, but non-degree programs, and I did my master's here at Oxford, and it's where I'm doing my PhD as well. Yeah.
Oh, cool stuff, cool stuff. I think, yeah, like just from these introductions, you can see like the wealth of experience we have. Like most of us are here, the panelists, young, and we have extensive experience applying to different universities. Most of us are doing our second degrees. So we're just going to quickly go through like maybe just tell us like what was your experience. So I'll maybe start with you, Ngoni. Just describe in as much detail as you can. What was your experience like when you were in high school, when you were in A-level, when you're starting to think about colleges and universities? What are the major things that were important to you? Was there anyone who was very instrumental to helping you apply? What was your experience of it?
Oh yeah, thank you, Prince. So when I was doing my A levels in my final year, I joined a, a cohort that was accepted into the United States Student Achievers Program. This program assists high achieving and low income students in Zimbabwe and in a number of African countries now to apply for colleges in the US, and now they've expanded to Canada, to Europe, Costa Rica, and other parts of Africa. So through this experience, I was assisted in preparing for my application. For example, learning through the SATs, how to get letters of recommendation, and to complete the common application. And yeah, I think that was the most instrumental force in my journey. I will add that the United States Students Achievers Program only accepts around 40 students, so that's definitely not enough to cover the demand of students in Africa or in Zimbabwe. And many US embassies have an education advising center which offers um, similar services, but without the financial support. So I have a few friends who went through the education advising center at the US embassy, and also were able to get to the US. My application to Arizona State University consisted of a few essays. It was two essays, letters of recommendation from my high school counselor, my high school teacher, and also the director of the USAP program that I mentioned. Um, and I was fortunate to be admitted to Arizona State University Foundation Scholarship. Scholarship is available in numerous partner universities in the US. Um, and I'd be happy to share more information about it, or you can find more information on the website of the Mastercard Foundation. Yeah, I'll stop here for now.
Oh, thank you so much. I think for that. And so basically, the point that I'm also getting from what you're saying, Goni, is this process is a very difficult process if you're doing it on your own. So it really requires, a lot of additional help. But can you just add on a little bit about, did you meet any financial constraints in the application process?
Uh, you're definitely right in pointing out that the process is very difficult to do on your own because uh, a lot of lies is hidden in offices um, across cities. So you need to get access to those offices, to get mentors, to get people who are familiar with the process. And I was fortunate to have that. In terms of the finances, yes, some universities require an application fee. In many cases, students may find a fee waiver that they can use, uh, and also I think one of the major costs is with writing the required standardized tests, the SAT or TOEFL, or in some cases, I think the ACT. Um, yeah, so those were possible constraints for me, but didn't hinder my process because I had the support of the USAP program.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Thanks so much for that. I'll go to over to you, Nelly. Can
Yeah.
you just maybe talk us through
Mm.
how you decided your degree subject?
Yeah.
You were
So
thinking about it in the beginning of when you were still in high school.
yeah, actually, that's a very what Ngoni has said is pretty much my experience as well. First of all, in terms of like the application process and stuff, but now deciding my degree subject was first of all looking at currently what you're studying. People are doing A levels, looking at your strong subjects and mostly things that you're passionate about in the subjects that you're doing. And then when you're looking for applications at universities, first of all, of course, if you cannot apply indirect funding like for the Mastercard scholarships, you first of all look at universities that do offer the financial aid packages and stuff like that. And then selecting those universities was for me like I first went to select the universities and then looking at what degrees they offer in terms of like my background and what I was interested in. So I was interested in biological sciences, so biochemistry, biology, or neuroscience, anything like that. So I kind of went through a pruning stage of whereby, first of all, select universities based on finances. Second, looking at the programs. And then if they had the finance but not a program that was catered to my interest, then cancel that off the list. And then also, one thing that varies is also like, obviously, say the application fees and stuff like that. Some had, you could ask for waivers and they would give it to you and not. And then also kind of like reaching out to people who had done. I think for undergrad level, it's not really important to find out exactly like what people have done a similar course. I think if you look at most universities, are very sufficient information on type of courses they're offering, and it's helpful for some people again who like would be interested to learn certain courses. So you look at the modules that they offer and you see is this something that's related to what I want to do, and that's kind of was helpful for me to finally pick on one university that I went to. So the one I went to study in Germany is also American University but based in Germany. So I looked at the type of campus that they had was more international, and I looked at the courses modules what they had. It was so broad, and there was like various fields of interdisciplinary as well, and that was very key to kind of look at the course modules and to kind of finalize on one university that had financial aid, that had the course that I was interested in, and the modules that were interesting in just environment was more international in that aspect. So I think those kind of things are quite you might overlook them, but you find that they will kind of really change your experience as an undergrad, those kind of universities as well. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much, Nelly. I think you have said a lot of things that need unpacking, but I know that Ngoni has to leave.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks so much, Ngoni, for joining. So you can it's fine that you leave. But I just want
online.
Oh, say that again.
I think they're online now, right?
Oh yeah, fantastic. Yeah, the students are online, so we're just going to continue.
Yeah.
I guess that the parts that they missed can always be pre-recorded. But yeah, feel free, Ngoni. And I hope, Nelly, you have a few more minutes because I just need to ask another question.
Yeah.
To you as follow-up. So you mentioned like it's important to look at the.
Thank you, Prince, and have a good session, everyone. Goodbye.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
So Nelly, you mentioned that it's important when choosing or selecting a university to look at the environment, right?
Yeah.
And you also mentioned to look at the school that is offering financial aid.
Yeah.
You also mentioned to look at the modules that they're offering.
Yeah.
So I think those are key takeaway points for students when selecting a university.
Mm-hmm.
But you often find that some of the schools, let's say every one of us would want to go to Harvard, right?
Yeah.
But there are some factors which may concern us to go there. Maybe like SAT score they require, or like the college entrance exam score they require is just too high for us, right?
Yeah.
So I would like to know, like, of all these factors you mentioned, what was the major deciding factor for you? That's the first question. And the second question is, how did you sort of like package your application? Like, how did you advertise yourself to the college?
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, one important thing to consider is the impact of the university. So it's very important to kind of like pick universities that are highly renowned, like things like if you're a female, for example, there's universities which are women-only colleges like Smith College, which are also at the top there. And you know, if you go there, like your long-term career path kind of gets paved for you to even progress further in life. So like there are some other universities that are quite small, not really renowned, and not many people have never heard of them I've never heard about them. And that can also kind of like have an impact on a long-term career plan. So it's always good to kind of like, if you can afford to apply to also the renowned one, but how do you sell yourself? Because one thing you should consider, you're competing with Americans also who've had a training and experience of applying to these universities all their life. They know how to go about the process and how to get into those positions. And then you coming from a low income country, you've only kind of got into this field like maybe in a couple of years before the application process. So how do you sell yourself? I think one of the key things that is a first kind of pruning state for these investors is your common app essay, your common application essay. And that's a thing that you need to invest most of your time in writing one that will make you stand out or memorable. It doesn't have to be, I mean, you have to think of a story that's more personal to you, but also memorable in a way that when they read it, they kind of remember you, because there's a generic common app many people write, and it's just like everyone has said that story before, right? But how can you be unique in that? And that's the thing that's like key in the application process. And secondly, of course, SATs are a very, very important determinant factor to apply. So if you can invest as much time in studying for the SATs as you can, like I had to write 2 times. I did write the first time. If you can have someone to fund me, I did write the first time and I wasn't really satisfied with my score, and I invested in as much time to study and get the highest score. A score of over 20,000 above would be very ideal, but people can still get in ideal universities. I don't know, back in my time, that was a long time ago. people could still get in around 18,000. I've forgotten the scores now. I think that was like 7 years ago and stuff like that. But SATs are very important for you to focus as much of your energy to get a good grades in that. And then the other things are just like more like extras. For example, getting good recommendations from, it could be your high school headmaster or high school teacher. And I think people who are also renowned for recommendations will help you to kind of get the high achieving colleges. And you find that most of the high achieving colleges are the ones that offer the most financial aid as well. So it's kind of a win-win situation. You put in the amount of effort and work that you require to get the best due out of it. So I think it's all like knowing your capabilities and knowing that you want this so much and how much effort are you willing to put in to be able to meet the standards that are required. And that was what I found in my experience, to kind of like making sure I get the required recommendations in terms of like good recommendation letters, writing a common up essay. It's always good to kind of make as many people read it for advice in terms of like how your story reads or just grammatical errors and stuff like that. And then putting as much effort in your SATs as well. So yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thanks so much, Nelly, for that. I also know that you have to leave.
Yeah.
How many more minutes do you have?
5 more.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. So if you have 5 more minutes, then that's fine. I can ask you like one more question, then we'll go over to you, and then I'll sort of wrap this up. But yeah, my question, the one I was going to ask, is more to do like with the essay. Can you just share us a little bit with the college essay? Because most colleges and universities require essays anyway.
Yeah.
So share us like just a neat bits of essay or personal statement. And I also know that you are a Rhodes Scholar, and writing a personal statement is required, and it's one of the things that will make you stand out.
Yeah.
So what kind of help can you get in crafting your essay, or like what kind of attributes that you really need to make sure you include in your personal statement or to colleges?
Yeah. So your essay, one thing they're trying to find out from the essay is just you as a person, like what kind of personal attributes make you a strong candidate to go to this university or college. And one of the things they're trying to find out is, first of all, your hard work. How do you show that in an essay? You don't have to say, oh, I passed #1 in school, I was always a top student. But the way you craft it, you have to be crafted in such a clever way that you kind of put that in. And also they're just looking for someone who's just committed to or dedicated to whatever they assign themselves to. So like, for example, in my case, the personal statement I wrote was just my kind of like putting things like attributes like resilience, hardworking, even coming from like a poor background, I was still able to achieve things that were not easily attainable in my thing. But I wrote in a more like a personal story, that like a situation that happened to me before, but kind of clever putting in all these attributes that the situation, how I was trying to overcome this hurdle and stuff like that. And that kind of like is a way they're trying to find you. How can you explain yourself, not directly pointing it out, but just in a way that you can show them what you're made of. Are you made of confidence? Are you a leader? Or are you good at starting up things, innovative or something like that? So you could have made something during like your science projects in high school, and that got recognized nationally. How do you put that in the story, you know? Yeah. And another thing, what was the other question? Sorry.
Yeah, so basically I was asking like if in your essay, like what attributes?
Oh, attributes. So the other question asking is just what kind of help can you get from people? I think most importantly as well, of course, you guys are native English speakers, but there are certain ways of how you can also write an essay to sound more intelligible, even the normal English that we use. So always ask maybe your English teacher to look at your essays. You can use synonyms of like not having like just a grammatical kind of like things in your essays, and how you write in a way that it's more appealing to the reader, saying this is a person educated in an English school and they spoke English in their school for a while. So write in a way that you also like the English language that you use is more like at an intelligent level, and just how your essay flows. So it's always good to have people read it, people who've had the experience of applying for universities, or could be a career guidance teacher who's seen many of these essays before, just to give you advice on how it reads. Does it read well? You know, and things like that. So this kind of help that you can get externally, and ideas, suppose it's advisable to have your own ideas, but just get that cosmetic kind of like look at the essay, it's always good to talk to many people to look at it. Like I send my essay to like several different people to look at it, to just give me feedback, and you can get different types of information from various people, and that's really, really helpful to kind of like share it with many people and then get little bits of information from there on how you can improve on it. So it's always good to sit down, start thinking about ideas. If you want, you can just brainstorm with people saying, what do you think about this idea? Will it flow well in what I'm trying to explain about my attributes of leadership, hard work, or innovation and stuff like that? So yeah.
Thanks so much,
Yeah.
Nelly. I won't take much of your time.
Yeah.
So yeah, feel free to.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Noon.
So I'll go over to you, Noon. And I find your journey particularly intriguing.
Sorry?
I said I find your journey interesting because you completed an entire medical degree and then you went ahead to the University of Oxford where you are now, and you are in the process of completing another doctorate. So someone who is looking from the outside may say that is a very so much love for academics, right? So can you explain explain like your motivation and like what, because this room is full of young girls. You can see like what made you aspire to be where you are, and what really drove you to go through 2 degrees of that magnitude.
Okay. Thank you. So, I remember when I graduated high school and I was applying for universities. My experience is a little bit different because, like you said, I did my undergraduates in Sudan. Um, when I was applying for universities, I was 15 years old at the time, which in a way limited a lot of options for me being underage, but also having my family not being very comfortable with me leaving at such a young age. So I did my undergraduate in Sudan. Um, I think one thing that I had in mind was that I would have, I wanted to have a career at that time that was more science based as opposed to clinical based. So I wanted more of a scientist kind of career path. Um, One of the things that I kind of was aware of that uh, I would have to do extra work if I want to then go into a top university where I can then do my research. And there were several opportunities during my undergraduate for me to do such things. So after applying, okay, um, okay, I'll try to take you through it a bit with a bit more details.
Yeah, sure.
So with during my high school, a big determinant of which university you would go to was mainly your marks. And because education in Sudan is free, so if you get the marks, then you would get the place in the university, and then you would get, in a way, a full scholarship, and you don't have to really worry about financing it. So it becomes very competitive because everybody would want to get the marks, because this would then mean that you can go into the university, your university of choice. I did something a bit different because uh, most of the universities that are free are the public universities. They're very good. Um, there's little opportunity for international collaboration. So when I chose my undergraduate university, I decided to go with a university that teaches in English, because I felt that that would give me like a good opportunity, which I think, yeah, would be a bit would be a difference in the context. But they also had a number of international collaboration that I could tap into during my undergraduate. Um, my first experiences of applying to outside of Sudan was, I think, in my second or third year of university, where I had to apply to summer programs. So these were just non-degree programs, but it enabled you the opportunity to then experience a different educational environment. I didn't have a choice. I didn't have much choice into where I would go after I select, for example, a country. So I couldn't really pick universities. But you could all, but you had the choice of choosing the country in which you, for example, would want to do that summer placement. Um, I've done about 2 placements in the US and 1 placement in South Africa. And I think these experiences were um, very transformational for me because our educational system is in a way different to the educational systems in the US and in South Africa. And because I was doing them at undergraduate levels, I could see the kind of training you would go through to make you competitive when you're trying to apply for a postgraduate program. Um, so I'm not sure if everything is being clear now, clear, Prince, because my context is a bit different and what I'm thinking
No,
makes sense might not. Yeah. So just feel free to interrupt with questions if the context is lost.
yeah.
Um, by the time I graduated from university, I also had to pay attention to my marks during my undergraduate. I knew that for order to get into a good program, and what Nolisa also mentioned earlier, the the high profile universities also has more funding opportunities, then I knew that I had to focus on my grades as well. But I also knew that that was not enough. Um, and I had to get different experiences. So I was doing extra research work. I was doing extra like volunteer work during my undergrad. So by the time I graduated, I had many aspects that made me very competitive when applying for postgraduate studies.
Let
Um,
me just jump on that point because I think it's a valid point, right? Because
yeah.
most of these students seated in the classroom do like a lot of extracurricular activities. So some are in Interact Club,
Yeah.
Leo Club, um, some religious clubs, some debates, quiz
Yeah.
clubs. In some clubs, some are in science club because they like to do science, but you could actually spend a lot of time doing things that have
Mm,
no relation to what you want to do later.
yes.
So maybe it's a very valid point you raise, and I think you should just shed more light on like
Okay.
is it really important in school to focus on the things that build up to the ultimate degree you want to study? Or maybe
Exactly.
say, do your extracurricular activities really have to align with what you want to study or
Mm.
align with your talents or your interests? How do you really select those?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, Prince, because like you said, there's usually quite a lot of options of what you want to do, and I think what helped me a lot is I always had one story that I was trying to build. So I did a number of activities that were not really related to what I wanted to do, but these were because, for example, I was interested and things like that. But my focus was always to, so I wanted to do maternal and child health, and most of the activities that I did revolved around it. It was either research on maternal health, it was either organizing conference on obstetrics and gynecology, or working in communities on things like women empowerment and things like that. So it all ended up weaving nicely into this one story about this is kind of a situation that is happening in Sudan that I want to work on it from this aspect. But given my experience, it gave me different insights to the all different determinants of, for example, of the outcome, which was health. I also try to get international experience on my area of interest. So my work in the US was related to women's health. My work in South Africa was related to the mother and babies and also maternal health. So it was quite a lot of things that tied together and helped me make a very good application that was supported by my CV, that was supported by the recommendation letters I got from my supervisors and professors. I think one thing with that would be that it might be too early. Well, not too early, but it's very it's a commitment early on to what you want to do after, and it might also help to, at least for example, have 2 areas of interest. So the maternal part was the only part I would mention in my application because I have quite a lot of things that would support it. But I also have a different interest in human rights, and I have with within human rights a special focus in refugees, and I've worked in issues of refugees. I co-founded an NGO in Sudan. I've interned with the UNHCR. So these are all different interests that I had that I was also building at the same time. But it you would have to then be very selective when you're trying to then put up an application, because people then often make the mistake of mentioning everything that they've done, and it just confuses the panelists, because does this person just like not really know, do they really know what they're doing, or are they just exploring everything? So you have to be selective. So I've never mentioned that I won a grant from UN or I founded an NGO in any of my applications for my degree, because it wasn't really relevant, but I thought of them as very good achievements of my own, but that was not the right place, I guess, to put them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
And I find it is a problem of mine as well, like just being interested in so many things. And when you're applying, let's say you're applying to a fellowship in computer science, you definitely don't want to be mentioning about some community service you did, like giving people clothes somewhere.
Yeah,
Because
that's true.
you wouldn't want to mention it in detail, even though it says something about you. But I think there's one thing that most students struggle with. I struggled with this when I was still in high school at Islama College, which is I didn't know what I wanted to study in college. And it sounds like from what you're saying, you kind of knew. And the reason why I didn't know is because my aunt was an accountant, but I used to hang out with her a lot because she was like the academic in the family. So she used to like say, "Hey, you should be an engineer because you are smart." And my dad was a farmer. He never went to school. My mom never went to school as well, like finished in high school and dropped out or something. So really, there was no one to guide me. And I kind of had to form my own ideas of what I wanted to be and kind of look at what the subjects I was good at and kind of do that. So what do you think is the role of like family in deciding your major or your career? And also, do you think that as students, as high school students, how much should we allow family to influence?
Okay. This is kind of it's a heavy question, because so I did medicine for my undergrad, but like you said, I've had this constant kind of influence from family that, oh, you should do this, you'll be very good at it, and it's kind of been fed to me growing up that this is what I'm going to ultimately do, and I've worked towards that goal. I think for myself, I then was able to then understand, through my practice, I was able to then find what I wanted to do, but that was not at the initial stage of deciding. I think families play a big role in this, and I could only see it as a conflict if it goes against something that you really and truly want to do, because I didn't choose medicine, but I don't think I regret my choice. I think I was able to make the most out of that opportunity. If you have a passion, and I think very few people are lucky to know that early on, and if they don't find it, like I'm talking about in the future, then I can only see it being a major conflict if you know what you want and that goes against what your family. But you can always talk to people and try to get better idea and better understanding, engage more in conversations with your family. But I guess now when they're applying, it's a good time for them to really understand what they want and talk to people who are in their third or fourth year of the same program and see what they're trying to do. Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, sure.
We can't hear you anymore.
Oh, you can't
Speak
hear.
loud.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay, we'll try to speak louder, but here's what I'm gonna do now. Um, I'm going to ask Noon one more question, then we will go to, we'll take one or two questions from the students themselves,
Yeah.
then sort of kind of wrap it up. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, maybe Noon, when you're asking, try to speak louder so that they can hear. Hopefully everything will be fine. But the question I'm gonna ask now is, like, some people actually decided not to go to university, right? Like, I know people who finished high school and started businesses, and I know people who finished high school and um, went into articles. Like in Africa, there's something called articles, where after high school you go into an accounting or consulting company and they train you and you do that. So university and college is not for everyone. And so in this question, I can you just please, like, tell me what you think makes education important, or like just going to school? That's the first question. Then
yeah.
the second question is, tell me, like, if, yeah, more of like the experience of being in college or university, like how do you think it builds your character? Like, why should I even worry about applying to college? Why should I even worry about studying or working hard? Like, why can I not just wake up and be like Zuckerberg or like Bill Gates and not even have to go to school, because all of these guys dropped out anyway?
Yeah. Another very, very tough question. So I think so. Some of the work that I do now, and I'm going to talk about it a bit from kind of like, yeah, I'm going to try to answer it from a different perspective. But a lot of the work that I currently do is to look into the health of people and things that really determine that. And to a great extent, the level of education of people health affects their choices in life, affect their life expectancy. So those who are in a higher, for example, have higher education tend to live longer, tend to get like less sick. So this is more of a biological effect that you can get when like when someone is like when you go through more education. But there are so many different benefits because for it to affect your health, it has to go through different processes. So I guess the value of education comes in helping us really navigate the the world. Uh, of course, more education is on average translates to better work opportunities, to more income, to better quality of life. But I guess for me now, as human being, it really helps you understand the world and where you place in the world. And this brings me to your other question, like what does how am I how is my college experience and university experience so far?
Yeah.
Uh, I guess I I've had a number of situations. Okay, yeah, I wanted to share a story, but it might not be the a good time. But what I'm trying to say is that um, to learn. Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess that we can we can we can only we see very little of what's around us, and this is in a large way um, determined but what we know. So yesterday I was in a lecture, and then the professor was talking about how before people would look into the sky and with their own eyes and then try to make up theories about the stars and how far they are, and this dramatically changed. So people then wrote books and were able to make calculations and thought they figured out the night sky, and things completely changed when they discovered the telescope, because a lot of what they knew about it was wrong. But most importantly, the new knowledge helped them improve on their current situations quite a lot. So I think this is kind of a good analogy to what education for me means. So when you just drop out of high school, then you might think you have things figured out, but the more you study, the a completely new world unveils, and then it helps you really improve in your situation. And I'll bring it back to my earlier point, because health in our lives and the quality of our life and how long we live is something that's very precious to us, because we don't have that much time on this current earth. So it would the effect of it would trickle down to a lot of things, most importantly how long you live and how well you live. So yeah, yeah. I tried to answer it from a different
Yeah, no, you did, you
way.
did, and I think that's fantastic. Like, it gives perspective, and it's always good to answer, giving some perspective on the
Yes.
background you have. So let me now just open up the floor to some questions, so students can come, say your name and what you want to study, and just say like one sentence of why, and then ask a question.
Okay.
So do we have any students who have specific questions to me or to Noon? Any question like pertaining to applying to colleges or universities, or maybe something you have had that you don't really know what it is? Maybe you heard someone say you take the SAT, but you don't know what it is. So any question?
Yeah, they can hear you from there. Oh, okay. Just speak up your name and.
Hi, Prince. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So my name is Nandipa. I'm currently studying biology, math, and chemistry. I'm not really sure I want to study in college because I've discovered so many new, what you call degrees. So there's biostats, there's medicine, and all that. So I'm not really sure. But my question is on when exactly do you start applying for college? Because I understand there's a certain time where all colleges, especially in the US, right, they open up their applications and scholarships and all that. Then they say you can start applying. Is that really a good time because there'll be so much competition? And then the other thing is, and I've realized not everyone applies for college. Some people like you, they start applying, they apply for postgrad, right? Is that a good thing, or there is no difference between me applying for college and someone who's going for postgraduate?
Okay. So Prince, would you take the first question, because I don't really have that experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll just briefly talk about the first part of the question, then you can answer the second one.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in applying to the US, there is sort of three streams of applications. So there's the first thing is called early decision. Then there's something called early action. Then there's something called a regular decision, right? So if you're looking at it from the perspective of the students are studying in Zimbabwe, when you are in your upper seat, right, in the month of October, September, August, around there, that's when they have the early decision. So most deadlines are in September and October, right, between that time, right? Then you have your regular decision, which the deadline is in December to February, right? Then some of the colleges still open up their application deadlines until March. So you really want to start looking at your applications in August. That's the time you want to start. So August throughout the end of December, that is the application period for US colleges and universities. So it's a matter of like whether you decide here after your exams in November, or whether you want to apply while you're also doing your exams. That's another way, which is more intense. Some people wait until the following year when they have their A-level results. They can just take the SAT exam, and then that following year, after your A-level exams, start your applications. Yeah, over to you, Nun.
Yeah, and if I got you correctly, was the question about the stage of application to college and to postgraduate? Because some of the other am I understanding the question correctly?
So maybe the question is, after high school, can
Yeah.
you apply directly to postgraduates? And
Oh,
maybe in your response also highlight the differences between undergraduate,
okay.
postgraduate, PhD, masters, undergrad. Do you really need the undergrad? Can you just
Okay.
skip it? Yeah.
So I think, yeah. So the different stages, like Prince just mentioned, they're very distinct. So with an undergraduate degree, you're pretty much uh, trying to get the principles of the subject that you want to study. So you mentioned you wanted to do biological sciences and things like that. So you're then understanding the principles of these um, disciplines. You're going to get a better understanding of what biology is, how bodies works, and things like that. And this is the basic knowledge that you need to have in that specialized kind of field, because in high school and you're pretty much you're pretty much not special you're pretty much getting an introduction to all of the different disciplines and not necessarily specializing in any particular discipline, which is a bit different with undergrad, because you get then that introduction, that on more specialization level, and you go beyond that introductory level. um, Usually it's between 3 to 4 years, and you then get a general bachelor degree. Then from your bachelor program or from your undergraduate program, you then would do postgraduate studies, which include masters and PhDs and other professional degrees. If you also mentioned something about medicine, and it's also it's very different how you study medicine in different countries. So in the US, for example, you would have to do an undergraduate program and then apply for medicine, while opposed to here in the UK, you can go to medicine straight from high school, but it's a 6 year undergraduate program. Um, the masters it's more of intense, specialized study, and it's usually for people who just finished their undergraduate. So it's difficult to go from your it's difficult to go to get to that level without going to the undergraduate, because that's when you would have been exposed to all of the principles that you then would need. The current program that I'm doing, which is a PhD, it's very research based, and you focus on a very specific part of an entire discipline. And then the idea is you're not really trying to master every area, but you're trying to learn how to then become a scientist. And it's a very very small part of it. So most of what I'll be doing in the next 3 years is to just study how patients and doctors interact, which is a very 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 small part of medicine, of science. So I guess as you go in, it's more like a pyramid, and your undergraduate is it's like very wide, but it's very basic, and then the more you go in, the more specialized you get. Yeah.
Fantastic. And thanks, Nandiva, for your question. I hope we
Yes,
did
thank you.
justice. If we didn't, we can always follow up later.
Yeah.
But anyone else wanting to ask a question?
All right. I'm also going to have to go now, but feel free to contact me if you have any questions, if anything comes up. Um, yeah, and yeah,
Okay,
thank
thanks so much, Nun. And yeah, let's give a hand to Nun.
excited to see quite a lot of young women who are very interested to do this. Yeah, all the best, and I would be happy to help in any way.
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay. Bye.
didn't manage to come online on time. But what I have done is in the beginning of this session, we had three panelists, Melissa, Goni, and Moon, and we just recorded the entire session such that they have introduced themselves, and you can be able to go back and watch the introduction part later on. So we'll make sure we give you the YouTube link so that you can go and watch it. But for now, I think we should be able to end the session in the next few minutes. But I was wondering if there's any questions you guys may have pertaining to applying to college or college readiness or anything pressing that you may have thinking about applying to different universities.
Hi, Prince.
Hello.
I'm Chone, so I'm currently studying sciences. And for my undergraduate, I want to do biotechnology, then I study medicine. So my question is, do you have any tips on how I can acquire a cool scholarship? Like, how can I do that? And I noticed that for most schools out there, especially Canada, I want to go to Canada. When I want to submit my application, they're asking for a fee. For most fees, they're like $180, $200, and I don't know if I can manage that because I have several on my list, like McGill and UT. So is there any way that I can avoid that so that I can apply? Thank you.
No, I mean, that's a very valid question, actually. And this past holiday, I was helping my sister apply to some schools in the US, and I also had to face that problem, right? So the basic question is the best way to get a scholarship is to be a nerd. That's the simple. So I was a nerd when I was at the time, and now I'm not. Now I'm more like doing different things and like focusing in business and things like that. But when I was at your stage, I did not care about anything other than just studying. I was a prefect, yes. I was actually what study prefect. Still, it had to do something with studying. So if you study hard and you work so hard and you get like really high grades and high scores and you focus on nothing else but studying, you could do some clubs. I was also in CLC and I was in choir, but I spent a lot of night just studying, and that helped me have like some really high scores. And I didn't have to apply for a scholarship in high school because scholarships came to find me. They were like, "Oh, that kid is good, right? Let's." I only applied to one university in my life. Now two because of Oxford. But my first university, I only applied to one. I didn't even apply to 7 or 6 because they were handed me an application. But I'm just saying this, but it may not be everyone. Don't worry that everyone will be studious because in life we just don't want people who just do only studying. There's many things people are talented at, right? So what I'm just saying is for you to get a full scholarship, you need to have very high scores, and you need to know where the scholarships are. And that's where Imagination comes in. We gives you the scholarship. We have a link on our website with all the scholarships that are available for applicants. If you've not seen it, visit it or ask Farai or Russell to send it. Then, if you have high scores or you have a high flyer, it's very easy to get a scholarship. We can point you to full scholarships you can apply to. And then, if you're not a high flyer, or let's say someone who has average grades, which is the case for most people, that is fine. It doesn't mean you have to get a full scholarship. You can get what they call partial scholarships. But that just means you have to be more resourceful in terms of applying. Like you have to know which schools offer the partial scholarships. We do have a scholarship database that one of our members in EA collected, and we will share it with you as well. So please ask for this database. It has a list of all the universities, how much they offer in scholarships, if they offer partial scholarships, if they offer full scholarship. Then coming to the question on college application fee. So there's something called the fee waiver that you can do on college common application, but some colleges don't allow you to do a fee waiver. So when you're applying to different colleges and universities, you have to have at least 400 US dollars. because one school, the average cost of the college application is $75 to $100, or even like $150. So you need to have a budget to actually say, I want to apply. It's not an easy process to apply, honestly. I think if you're coming from Zimbabwe, doing it through USAID or MasterCard is one of the easiest ways. But if you're applying on your own, you need at least $400 just for application fees. You need another $80 to $100 for SAT registration. You need another $100 for college board to send your application. So in total, you need about $600 to $700 just to apply. If you don't have that, there are options where, let's say, you can also consider applying to schools in South Africa, or like, I know there's some preferential scholarships or things like that. But I would advise you, as much as you can, try to study abroad. It's not a requirement, but there's a lot of things you can learn by interacting with people from other cultures, and you can learn by living in different countries. It just opens your perspective to the world. I hope I've answered your question.
Hi, Prince, again.
Hello.
I hope you can answer this one. I realized that the US is the only one, right? If not, yeah, I think it's the only one that requires SATs, right? But then considering that I'm coming from an African country, I need to write the English proficiency test. So I want to know, like, how do I go about that? Maybe if I want to go to Canada, Australia, or even the UK. So I've never had really seen them online, like the way the SATs are being advertised. So I want to know how to go about the English proficiency test, sorry, and the scores and everything like that.
That's a very valid question. And so for the English proficiency test, there's something called the TOEFL. It's an English proficiency test, but most schools will ask you for the SAT or a statement of language proficiency. So what happens is, for some schools, they'll allow you to apply without that test. If you're coming from Zimbabwe, they'll allow you to apply. But then if you want to apply to the US, SATs satisfy that test. So if you write SATs because you do maths, SAT 1 is maths and English, right? So that it automatically satisfies the test. So by the time you start applying, you should have completed your SATs. Then if you want to apply to places like Canada, there are more international English proficiency tests that you can take, but the requirements will differ per school. So look at the school you're applying to, go on the requirements. If they say they want an English proficiency test, they'll tell you exactly which one they want, right? But for US, they'll tell you either SAT or the TOEFL, of which in that case, you just need to do the SAT. Okay, any other question? No? Okay.
Hi, Prince.
Hello.
My name is Nicole Madimuta.
Ah.
Yeah, you know what I'm studying. So it's just a general question. Are you supposed to smile when you get in for an interview or not?
Really? Okay, you raise a good point. And, first of all, it's good to see you. I know that you are my mentee, so it's nice. But to answer your question, I know you talked about mock interviews with Taku a few weeks ago. Interviews are very interesting because for colleges, some colleges actually do the interview, right? Are you just asking for college interviews or also for job interviews?
For now, college interviews.
Okay, so the key question is you're always supposed to smile, whether it's an interview or it's not an interview, you always have to smile. That's the key answer. But also, when you get into an interview, interviews are tricky because you have to maintain a good balance. You can't just go there like smiling and talking nonsense, right? You look like a clown. But then, but then if you balance, you just have to be in a happy mood and be confident. But I think confidence matters above everything. So if there's, if you know people who are doing Toastmasters, anyone doing Toastmasters,
Yes. Me.
good. Toastmasters or debate or public speaking, those are really good clubs to practice your confidence and your speaking skills. Because I know someone who I was having competitions with in terms of going to more college. This person had 30 points from A level, 30 points, 6 subjects, 30 points. And I did not have A level. But this guy did not get the scholarship and I got it. And the reason I got it because I had the confidence to speak in the interview and I had nothing to lose. You have to go in as if you have nothing to lose. So obviously you'll be smiling if you go in. So I hope I answered the question.
Yeah. Hi, Prince.
Hey, what's good?
I'm Tariro. Okay, so my question is, does the USA or Canada or Australia consider our A-level exams to be pretty advanced? So that, like, let's say you've got a 3-year program, you do it in 2 years, or you got a 4-year program, you do it in 3 years, or everything is just standardized. If it's 3 years, it's gonna be 3 years.
Yeah, great question. So no one really cares about your A levels. That's the basic answer. I did not have A levels when I went to college. I just did O levels and I skipped. But again, maybe let me say I lied the first time I said no one cares about your A level. They're important. I don't want you to feel like you're not doing something right. But what I'm saying is some colleges and some universities are selective. Some will ask you for your A level results, some will just ask you for the SAT. I was lucky to have one of the colleges that only asked for SAT. So I did not need to have A level results. So once you get to the school, having done A level benefits you because there's in mathematics, there's something called calculus 1 and 2. When you do integration and differentiation, that's essentially what you do. So because you've already done A level math, you actually don't need to do those 2 classes. So most people who have done A level, they skip 1 year of classes and end up graduating in 3 years because they already know everything. So they can actually exempt you from some of the courses because you have A levels. So the answer is yes. For some subjects, you can actually skip courses because you've done A level. And if you don't skip, the courses will be super easy for you. Just that you don't even study. You just go to the exam. You just have like class. So it's all win-win situation.
Thank you.
One more question.
Hi, Prince.
Hello.
So my name is Rufara, and my question is about social media.
Yes.
So is it nowadays when you apply to universities, they check out your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your Facebook, your whatever. So my question is mainly on LinkedIn. So right now I'm currently in high school, and how professional is professional? Isn't how professional should my profile picture be? Do they expect me to be posing in a suit when I'm just a high school kid?
Yeah.
I really don't understand what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, that's thank you for asking that question actually, because I've been dying to show some people some light on this question. But here's what I have done, my approach. You can go on my Facebook page and like try to find anything that is uncalled for. You might not find it. You might find it on my friends' pages, but still, when my friends post stuff like maybe when out or having fun at night or something, I tell them to not post it, and I try to not get those kinds of things on my profile because one, social media lasts forever. If you started Facebook in 2009, you can go on Facebook right now, you see the first picture you posted. 30 years later, when you're trying to get a job, that same picture will still be there. When they're trying to look for a PO, you're trying to run for a president, that picture will be there, right? Even if you delete it, someone might have downloaded it, right? Because anyone can download any picture and you don't even know, right? Someone can download your profile picture and you don't even know. So the general advice for me is, which I would even tell myself now if I was still in high school, is I don't post anything that's not educational, that's not constructive, that's not. I don't post anything when I'm doing braai with my family. Yes, that makes sense. But if I'm holding like a bottle of booze or whatever thing that's uncalled for in a cultural context, then I wouldn't want to post that. So be careful whatever you post, whatever you say, whatever you comment. It's unfortunate that technology is advancing. Now even companies can run automatic algorithms to just fish out these things. So they can just go on a computer can just go on your Instagram, look at what you have done and fish it out, right? So yeah, in terms of social media, just be careful. But if you really want to do like some crazy stuff, create ghost accounts. I have a ghost account on Twitter because I want to go into politics one day. So on Twitter, I use a ghost account. I won't tell you what it's called because now you will know that it's me, right? Um, I comment ridiculous comments there. Like I got face to face with politicians, I tell them ridiculous things, but no one will know who I am because you have to understand the technicalities of like privacy and security and what information is exposed of you and things like that. So yeah, I hate ruin the fun. But if you want to do something big in life, don't post things which are ridiculous on social media.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Kim. I'm back again. Sorry. Okay, I just want to ask, have you realized like the large number of students who want to apply abroad for college, right? There are now so many scams regarding our scholarships and all this. So is there really a safe way to try and apply for college and avoid all those the 50% cyber scholarships and all the other scholarships that end up with you in a place that is not good? So I don't know, is there really a safe procedure or a safe place that you can actually go to and well,
Good question. So yeah, at EA we're trying to create a program that is reliable and safe because you know us, so we can like compete with the consulting companies which will rob you of your money and not even give you a good deal, and then you go to Cyprus or somewhere, and then people will treat you horribly, right? So, but I can't really say much about this program because it's still in the works. But what I can say now is it's better before you use a service or before you apply to Cyprus. Talk to someone who has used that same service who has applied to Cyprus, right? So if you want to apply to China, talk to someone who has used that same company you want to use and find out what their experiences are. But I still think that if you're applying, like let's say to the US, the best way to do it is check that $1,000 that you're going to pay a consulting company and apply yourself. Sometimes it works with the right guidance and with the right people around you, which is us trying to help you with that. It works to actually just apply on your own. And the second thing is to interface directly with the university. Like there are college admission officers, which you can actually email directly, say, hey, I'm interested in applying. They'll tell you every step. So the college and university can actually interface with you directly, especially if you're able to pay your own fee or if you have good grades to get a scholarship. But I really would try and avoid like some of the consulting companies if you don't have a full picture of like what the experience is after you go to China. Because I know people who went to China or Cyprus end up regretting it. And now they want to come back, but they've already paid their money and they're stuck there. So it's important to find someone who has gone through the process and ask them. If you can't find anyone, talk to us, talk to Farai, talk to Russell, and we can always link you up with someone in our network who has gone through that process. And also use the scholarship website. On our website, there's a scholarship page. We need to update it more, but there are some scholarships we've already done research that they accept African students, and you can actually apply directly to the college. So you can also use that as an option. Okay. I guess we have taken all the questions, right?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. You guys are awesome. Let's give ourselves a hand. This session was by far very informative. And I know you missed the first part of the session where Tony, Nelisa, when Nelisa, Tony, and Noon were introducing themselves. So we'll make sure that you get to watch that part. And they have already opened up to saying, to helping you guys. Ronnie studied at Arizona State University in the US. You can also advise US applications. Nelisa studied in Germany and now is in the UK and is from Zambia. And Noon studied in Sudan, now is in the UK. Studied in the US, now here. So make sure you are proactive in what you do and make sure that you take initiative and always be hungry to learn, always be hungry to network and to connect with people. And I think above all, at EA, we have created like assignments in our curriculum that some of you have done, some have not done. But you know, if you have completed those assignments, you actually see that they help you towards like your goal, because the things you're creating will actually help you think through some of the things you need to think through in terms of applying to college. So it's important to complete those things. But besides that, Farai, Russell, is there anything else?
Thank you very much, Prince. We're done. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming through.
Fantastic. You guys have a lovely day and good luck on your exam preparations. I know you will do great. And one day you give me a job. Yeah.
Bye.
Yes.
Cheers, Prince. Thanks.